Here in the nation's capital, there are a couple of chances to see at least parts of an original Gutenberg Bible. The Library of Congress has a complete copy printed entirely in vellum, a type of parchment. It is one of only 3 known vellum printed copies in the world. The Museum of the Bible also has parts of a Gutenberg Bible, including a complete letter of Paul to the Romans. The Gutenberg Bible dates back from the 1400s. There are believed to be only 21 complete copies in the world. And we go now to Brian Hyland, Curator of Medieval Manuscripts at the Museum of the Bible. Brian, great to be with you today. Talk to us more about the Gutenberg Bible, its importance, and why it is so rare, even to see at least parts of one.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's nice to be able to talk about our Gutenberg. The thing is that when Gutenberg printed, he only made about 180 copies. And it's amazing to think that something that would have such a big impact on the world came in such a small quantity. And of the 180, there are about 21, as you said, that are still around. And these are the ones that are complete. But there was one that made it to the United States in 1920. And a man by the name of Gabriel Wells got his hands on it and decided he didn't have enough to make a profit if he sold it all as one piece. So instead, what he did is he cut it up. And what he did is then call it noble fragments of the Gutenberg Bible, and he sold them to various people. Now, when you look at a Gutenberg Bible, one of the things that's interesting is it's such a revolution to have something that's printed, and you can make multiple copies quickly. And yet it's very, very traditional. By the time you get the 15th century, a Bible had a distinct layout to it. You had 2 columns of text, and at the top you had the title of each book in alternating red and blue letters. And then you also had initials at the beginning of chapter sections that were larger and were decorated. When Gutenberg made his Bibles, that's exactly what he did. He, with the 42-line format, he copied everything else and left space so that the initials could be painted in afterwards by hand. So on the one hand, it's a very revolutionary thing to be able to make 180 copies in a year, but it's also very, very traditional in the way it looks.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And for those who may not know, tell us really, I mean, it really had a tremendous impact. And I also understand it also played a role with both business and increasing literacy.
Exactly. Historians very often point to printing as the first truly capitalist enterprise in European history. The reason for that is it took a great deal of money, first of all, to have a printing press, have all the different type fonts, and then all the employees to set the type and then to do the actual printing. Plus, of course, you had to have stocks of paper. So it was a large-scale investment. And it's noteworthy that within 50 years of the foundation of printing, you've got about 1,000 printers scattered all over Europe. So it catches on. And the fact is that even though it sounds so small by today's printing standards, 180 copies, if you think about it, it had taken typically 2 to 4 years to handwrite a single copy of the Bible. And if you had that kind of production, it would take you well, you can do the math. I can't do the math.
I can't either.
But the thing is that it would take 90 years or more to come up with that many. So it's really quite revolutionary. And this then, in turn, by increasing the amount of books that people can read, that stimulates literacy. And of course, it's not just Bibles that are being printed, although The Vulgate Bible that Gutenberg printed spurred other copies to be made. But there's a tremendous amount of other types of literature, including original literature that gets printed in that first 50-year period. One of the most common things to be printed after the Bible is actually The Imitation of Christ by Thomas Kempis. So you've got all these different things out there, and increasingly it feeds into the growth of learning that you see in Western Europe during the Renaissance. And there's a great hunger for spiritual texts, especially in Northern Europe at this time. If you look at the Brethren of the Common Life in Holland, they are creating a series of schools that spread across Northern Europe. And all kinds of people will be educated in these schools. Erasmus of Rotterdam is one, Martin Luther is another. And so it spurs studies and gets everything going. But I mentioned Luther. I have to bring up the Reformation as well. One of the interesting things about printing is that you get the large number of pamphlets that are produced. And they are such small format works of literature. Think of them analogously to tweets or something today. And just as social media today is often very angry, if you have a chance to read through some of the pamphlets that come out in the early years of printing, they're very, very angry as well. And so there was a great parallel between what happened in the late 15th and early 16th century to what's going on today with our social media.
Yeah, it is also very fascinating. Again, you have leaves of the Gutenberg Bible at the Museum of the Bible, and we hope people go there and see it. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. So fascinating. Great to be with you. God bless.
Thank you so much for having me.